Hello, peeps who are watching. This is Mark. For those of you who don't know,
What's up,
Mark,
guys?
why don't you go ahead and just give a little introduction, share a little bit about yourself, background, non-businessy for now.
Non-businessy background. Okay. Well, I was born on a dark. No, I was kidding. I love when people do that, and every time everybody's like, "Haha, that's funny." So I live in Washington State. I do not live in Seattle, a small town. No trees, only one Starbucks, and only about 8,000 people. Grew up on a farm, and I now live on said farm. Do not farm. Don't like farming, but I live about a mile from my parents, and got a wonderful and beautiful and fantastic wife, Lacey. We've been married for 14 years, almost 14 years, 14 years at the end of the month. And we have 4 children, a 19-year-old. Yes, I know the math doesn't seem like it works. She moved in with us last year. She's not actually ours, but we consider her such. A 12-year-old turning 13 tomorrow. I will officially have a teenager, McCall. This is crazy.
Wow.
And then a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old. So that's me.
Full household. Gotta love
Full
it.
house.
Farm life.
19-year-old's
Okay.
moving to college tomorrow.
Wow. All right.
Exciting
That's a
stuff.
big deal. I'm sure that's a big deal, even though she's only been with you for a year.
It feels like she's part of our family. So yeah. I didn't think I'd have to do the whole college thing so soon, but here I am.
Here you are. And the next one will come up in, 5 years.
Right. Yep.
All right. So thanks for being here. For those who are watching this, you see probably in the description that Mark was at our most recent challenge in July, and he decided to join the mastermind. And I wanted to just ask him a couple of questions so you guys can get to know him, but also so you can receive some value from him as well. So the first question I'll start with, Mark, is...
Wait, hold on. You didn't tell me I had to bring value too.
The third question was, what tips do you have? So I hope that was implied. Yes. All right. Number 1, what was your first experience with Justin like?
Oh, first experience. I was trying to think about that, because did Justin do sales for Ray Edwards at his event? So I saw Justin there, but I didn't connect the two at the time. So first experience was, I think, just on the first challenge day. And backstory for everybody watching this or who will watch this. Justin and I think unbeknownst to either of us, had a shared experience in that we both had family members that had passed away very recently. And that actually really impacted my experience with the challenge, not because of anything you guys did, but so my first experience was just, I think, the amount of care and compassion that he had. And I really appreciate it. I've been around the online marketing space for several years. And I think Justin's compassion and the way he teaches and the way he sells and the way he interacts with his community is very unique. And, I remember that. I mean, I think it was that first day that he called me out by name and said, "Hey, I saw your video. And I just want you to know that I understand what you're going through and I'm praying for you." And that really made an impact.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. So interesting how, God brought that together and put those things.
Yeah.
Just had similar timing so you guys could lean on each other. And you were a little hesitant at first to really engage with the challenge or with us. What was that all about, and what changed?
What McCall means was I sent a really mean message to him. No,
it wasn't that mean. It was honest, and I received the feedback well.
I think it was, for me, the challenge was, it was like the second week of July, third week of July. I can't remember. It was on the heels. So my mom passed away on July 3rd. So I took the following week off, and I think it was the following Monday was the challenge. So it was my first day back to work. And I literally did not feel like doing anything. I didn't feel like showing up to the challenge. I didn't feel like doing calls. I really honestly probably didn't do much of anything all of July, except for the stuff I had scheduled. So I kind of showed up in the challenge. I think I did my video the morning of the first challenge day. I essentially just said, I'm going to show up and listen, and that's all I can do. I don't know if you guys did this time, but you had the, hey, book a call with our team beforehand to see what's going on and how we can support you. And I was like, nope, not doing it. And it was nothing. I mean, it wasn't really anything against you guys. It was just where I was at. And so I think that was part of it. And probably part of it too, I don't know. I was going to say part of it was just being a bit guarded, knowing that there was some sort of offer that was going to be coming, because you guys are upfront about that. And which is funny because I know that that's going to happen. And I actually enjoy the sales process. I like watching it. But I think even still, it's almost like I kind of subconsciously knew I was going to want to join if I heard about it. So it's like, let's not hear about it, and that'll make this easier. So that was probably
how did that work for you?
It worked fantastically until it didn't. But honestly, I think the biggest part was just, my personal headspace and where I was at. But I just decided that I had signed up for it. It was something that I was interested in, growing my coaching business and, being successful personally and in my business. And, if all I could do was show up and listen, then that's what I was going to do. So,
well, and I'm glad that you shared all of that context, because there are probably some similar people, even though we've pre-framed and shared, we're going to share an offer, they're still feeling like, it's.
You guys are the worst high pressure salesman ever, just FYI.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone.
You should take that as a compliment.
That we're the worst high pressure salespeople. That's interesting. I probably need to take some time to really unpack that there.
I mean it as a compliment.
Okay, well, thank you. So number two, what's the most valuable thing that you've learned so far? And before we went on the live, you shared with me you just got another client into the new program that you've really
got a commitment. She has to talk with her husband.
Okay, so almost all the way there. It's not
Dang
quite.
I didn't use. Yet. Gosh darn it! I didn't use the question that Justin said to use. Dang it!
What's the question that he says to use so other people can hear it?
Just the okay. That's awesome. Are you ready to make a decision if your husband says that it's a go?
Yeah. Have you decided for you yet?
Dang it! That's okay. She pretty much said she had, so I think we're good.
Cool. That's great. So yeah, what's the most valuable thing you've learned?
In general, from everything with you guys, or just from the challenge?
Either or, whatever you feel like sharing.
I expect that you just say yes. Honestly, I think, and maybe this is going to be like a get ready, because I don't know I haven't had a chance to watch the challenge this time, so I don't know if they've got to this yet, but the pre-frame, I think, is the biggest thing that has really helped me. And it's something that I did by happenstance, I guess, in some of my calls, but I never did it as this is what I'm going to do. And the framework that you guys provide, I think, was really, really valuable to me. And I think it reiterated to me how important that is, and that I needed to make it a priority to do. It's something that I would do at times, hey, these are the things I want to talk about today and whatever, but even just putting out in front, and then we're going to talk about how we can work together, or if it's a fit to work together. It just takes so much pressure off those conversations. As a matter of fact, the call I had just before you and I were talking, I did that same thing. It's a past client. And we haven't talked for a few months because she's in Europe, which means she takes holiday, which, gosh darn it, I want to do that. I mean, seriously, I'm going to take 6 weeks off. But at the beginning of the call, we hadn't talked for a while. And I said, I'd love to just kind of hear, how holiday went, how your business has been going since we last talked, what your goals are for the rest of the year, and then just see what it looks like to work together moving forward. And just that pre-framing of it made the conversation so much easier. It was almost, rather than feeling awkward bringing up talking about my program, it would have been more awkward not to, because I told her we were going to, and it would have been really weird. And we would both been like, why didn't you say anything when you said you were going to? So I think for me, of all the things that I've learned, I think that's the one that I've used the most consistently, and the one that has made the biggest impact in, I would say, my ability to sell my program.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because we taught that 30 minutes ago.
Yes. I thought it might have been today. But
Yes, so it's fresh on people's
yeah,
minds. Their challenge for today is to script
go
out
do
their
it.
frame and share it.
Yep. So please do
Yep.
that. It's important. You'll use it, I promise.
Number 3, what tips you got for the people in the challenge?
Well, it's a very wide open question.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest one, and I'm sure, I think probably what I'll do is I'll go back and share it later, or reshare it or comment on it so it pops to the top for everybody. I shared, was it last week? What I wish I'd done before the challenge last time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a few in there that I'd encourage you to look at, but for me, it's understanding that this week is just the beginning. And I mean that in a few different ways. I mean it in the way that, some of you won't get everything done. Some of you will have things come up. You'll have family obligations. You'll get sick, but I don't know, the dog will break your computer. And I think it's easy in a challenge to start feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm behind. I'm missing things. I've seen people in the group already say that, I can't make the live calls, or I can't make today. And I think my first tip is just to give yourself some grace and understand that you don't have to finish everything this week. It's a process. And if you're in a place like I was and all you feel like you can do is just sit and absorb, that's okay too. Yeah. Because it's something that's going to continue. And I love the way you guys do the challenges, where if you're in the last one, you can be in the next one, you can be in the next one, you can be in the next one. And I hope you've noticed that there's lots of us that have been through the challenge before that are coming back again, because you're refining your mission, you're refining your program, you're refining your pre-frame, you're engaging with people. So I think that's the first one, is just give yourself some grace, understand this is a longer term process. You can continue working on it, you can continue implementing these things, regardless of whatever you do after this week. You can continue focusing on that and getting better. The second one is connect with people. I think that's one that I didn't do very well the last time, because again, my circumstances, I honestly didn't want to talk to anybody.
Right.
I mean, I just didn't, I didn't want to talk to anybody in my real life, let alone online. Mm-hmm. So I got to be honest with you. When you guys are like, okay, we're going to finish the lesson and then we're going to break in the breakout rooms, I'm like, see you later. And I'd leave. But there's so much value in that community and that interacting. And I just really encourage you, however that looks for you, whether that's staying on and asking questions, whether that's, private messaging people or commenting on their posts, or saying, hey, let's jump on Zoom. I want to hear more about what you do. It seems like it might be a good fit. However that looks, there's a lot of value in this community. And I just encourage you to utilize that and to take advantage of it.
I'm really glad that you brought that up, because there's a couple of people who've asked me and have asked Justin, if my natural market doesn't look the way that I want it to, how do I adjust that? And I think that your tip is the answer. You start engaging in things like this challenge and other challenges and other communities, and you just reach out and say, let's connect. You don't need to make sales to the people in the challenge. That might come across as, people might not like that as much. But if you just connect and you build that community, that's the way to create it. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. So
hold on, let me answer that. Let me talk on that. So, and the best way to do that, I think, is to serve, and just help people. And I think, I've seen so much of that where, I think everybody in this challenge has a heart for service. And I've shared with the mastermind, I have this thing on the wall. Let me see if I can find it. There it is, right there. Wait. It's backwards. I can't. Oh, there we go.
Other way.
There we go.
There it is. Yeah.
Just serve more people. That's on my wall right there. It's on my wall in front of my, that way. And that's really what I focus on. And just to give you an idea, and this isn't why I did it, but I've made a couple longer posts in the group. And that's kind of the way I teach. I do it on my personal profile too. And I don't do it for this reason, but I can tell you, I would say probably because of that post, I've got 4 or 5 friend requests from some of you. And again, it wasn't because I'm trying to prospect or anything, but it's a way to connect with people. So when you serve, you just naturally connect with people, and you find ways to help them. They want to connect with you. And that makes those conversations and those discovery calls and all of that stuff easier when people want to connect with you, because you're helping and you're serving. And I honestly couldn't care less what comes from serving. I couldn't care less if somebody says, let me hire you or not. Doesn't matter to me, because I know, and I think this is a very Christian perspective, is if we're in the service of other people, we're serving God. And if we're doing that, we're going to be blessed and things are going to happen. So I think it's just really being of service, and that's how you connect with people.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, great stuff there. I'm really glad that you shared that. I think that's really on point. So the last thing, for those who are interested in joining the mastermind, there might be some people listening to this who see the offer and it's not for them, and that's totally fine. And for the people who might be on the edge, why did you join? What was your thought process there? Because it wasn't easy for you to join. You weren't a no-brainer. So why'd you decide to join the mastermind, and how'd you do it?
Justin pressured me. Totally
Classic.
Yeah,
that's on
pressured me by not pressuring me. I don't even know how he did it. No, I'm doing well in my business, but I'm not doing so well that investing in something like this wasn't a stretch. And it's scary, it's like, it's a lot of money, and it's a serious investment. And so I struggled with that. If I'm honest with you, deep down, I knew days before that I was going to. I wouldn't have said that publicly, but I just knew, like, this is what I have to do. And I hate when I get those feelings, because then it's like, now I gotta walk back everything I've said before, because I sent you a message, McCall, like, I don't know, probably Wednesday of the challenge when I did it. And I was like, I'm not joining. And
Yeah,
McCall's like, all right, that's fine.
It was
and I'm sure
up.
he was like, all right, we'll see.
No, you had me fooled. I was like, I don't know.
But it was several different things. I pretty much full-time coach. I see the value of my coaching for my clients, and I didn't have anybody that was coaching me. And I know that was a limitation. So that was the first one. I think good coaches are coached. And the other thing was, I had actually, it was the person that I just talked to. I knew that I was going to be talking to her mid-August, and I was going to be asking her to join what at that time was going to be, one-on-one coaching for, I don't know, I think I had it set at like 15 grand a year. And I'm a firm believer in, if you're going to ask somebody to pay you something, you dang well better be willing to do that yourself. So I'll be honest with you, one of the big things for me was I wanted to be able to look at my clients and my potential clients and say, yeah, my program is $1,250 a month. And when they said, if they ever said something like, well, would you spend that? I could look at them and say, yeah, I do every month. And I do it happily, because I get value from it, and I get way more value. So really honest, that was part of it. I firmly believe it is hard for you to ask somebody to pay for something that you're not willing to pay for yourself. And I knew that was the next step in my business, was asking people to invest in themselves and invest in me as their coach. So if I was going to do that, if I was going to ask them to do that, I needed to be willing to. How could I look at them and say, please pay me over $1,000 a month, if I'm not willing to do that for my own business? So that was part of it. I think the other thing, and I told Justin this the other day, I texted him and told him a happy birthday. And I said, I know that neither of us would have liked what happened in our lives to happen. I said, but in a way, I'm grateful it did, because I think it created a connection between us that would not have existed otherwise. He sent me some messages, and I sent him some back, throughout the challenge and after the challenge, just because we had that shared experience, because we were both struggling. And I think that created a bond that wouldn't have been there. And I think it allowed me to trust him in a way that I wouldn't have otherwise. And again, Justin, I love you and I love our relationship. Wish my mom was still here. And I'm sure he would say the same thing about his sister. But it really was, I think, the silver lining in those experiences. So let's see. Why did I join? Did I hit everything? I think those were the big ones. I'd known for quite some time that I needed to invest in myself and my business, and I needed that support, and I needed that community, and I hadn't found it yet. And I finally felt like I had found it. I didn't make it easy on you.
Yeah, you made
Colin
me
and I
work
had some
for
good
it.
conversations.
Yeah.
And the same thing, and I wasn't, mean to Justin. And honestly, before Justin and I talked, and again, because of that bond, I think that's the only reason he and I talked rather than you and I talking. Before he and I talked, I sat down for an hour and a half and I basically coached myself. I got out of Google Doc and I essentially said, I acted like it was a coaching session, and I typed out, I'm like, hey, Mark, what are you thinking? And and I typed out, I want to join this mastermind, but it's a lot of money and I'm not sure I can afford it. And I was really mean to McCall, and I don't know if he's going to like me. No, I didn't say that part, but it's like, and I talked through it. And then I said, okay, so if I was coaching somebody and they asked me this, what would I ask them back as a coach? And then I would ask that question. And then I would sit and think about it and say, okay, what's the next thing? So if I'm being honest, before I talked to Justin, I had made that decision because I had coached myself. But yeah, it really came down to those two things. I knew I needed that community and that support. And I knew if I was going to ask my clients to pay a substantial amount of money, and money that they might take a deep breath and say, I'm not sure I can, that's not comfortable for me to spend, then I needed to do it too.
Yeah.
And so I did.
Yeah. That's great, man. Well, thanks for
And
sharing
I'm pretty
all
much
that.
covering that already, by the way, 2 months later.
The
I mean, I'm
investment.
pretty much cash flow positive as far as the mastermind.
Well, that's good.
In additional revenue.
Yeah, that's great. That I didn't have that question prepared, but I'm glad that you gave that little plug.
You're
So
welcome.
you started with the mastermind 2 months ago, and you were already net positive on that investment per month,
Pretty
or
close,
about to
yeah.
be. Pretty close.
Yeah.
Cool. 2 months in. That's great. I wish we could guarantee that. But yeah, it happens definitely. So thanks for putting in the work and jumping on board and sharing your time with all the people who've been watching. We've had, a couple people
Absolutely.
watching this whole time, a couple people, the number's been fluctuating. Hello to all of you. Few likes and hearts. I'm going to put this in the guides section as well. So that way, people can come back and watch this video, but, great perspective. Thanks for sharing anything. Any last words for the peeps in the challenge this week?
I think I posted this at the end of the last challenge. And I should have used this as a tip, but I would encourage each of you. I know there's probably some of you that are a little bit scared of being sold. I would encourage you to not only listen to what Justin and McCall are teaching on the masterclass, but watch how they teach it, because you're going to be doing similar things. And even if you have no interest whatsoever in joining the mastermind, if it's just not in the cards right now, I would encourage you when the time comes to book a call, because everything that they're teaching you about pre-frames, about sales, about serving, about laying out a program, they do themselves. And some of the best experience you can have, even if you have no desire to join or you can't join, it's just not going to happen, is to book a call with McCall and hear his pre-frame.
Yeah,
it really is. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's an amazing way to learn. And I would say that in all aspects of your life, don't be afraid to be sold. Be interested in the process, because there's so much you can learn. There's so many amazing people that are really good at selling. And if you're willing to just be okay with who you are and it's really awesome and easy with Justin and McCall, because I joke, but they're not high pressure. If you say, hey, I can't do it, they're not going to be like, well, here's a way to do a payment plan, or, well, could you, sell your third child? They're not going to do any of that. They're just going to say, okay,
we've
cool.
tried it. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. So they don't do it anymore. They're going to be cool about it. And so you can be confident in just learning and seeing the process. And you're missing out on, I would say, some of the best learning from this challenge if you don't go through that process and see what that process looks like live, because you will learn so much that you can use in your own business. It's amazing.
I'm so glad you shared that. We'll end there. We call that the game within the game.
Boom.
Don't just learn the content, but watch the way that it's being taught.
Yep.
Watch the process.
Absolutely.
Look at the emails we're sending out. Look at us having people like Mark inside of our challenge, encouraging people
Oh,
as a part of our engagement team. Lots of little games within the game that you can potentially notice. So thanks for bringing that up. Mark,
absolutely.
thank you for your time. I'm going to end the Facebook Live now. We'll give everybody a peace out. See you guys.
See you guys.
All right. That was great stuff.